Welcome back to Lydd, where motorcyclists are not the only ones falling off today. Well, Mini GP70's up next, and earlier I caught up with the World Championship leader, Adi Bihal. How do you like this track, Lydd? How does this compare to Landau, for example?
It's a lot faster flowing, suits my riding style a lot better.
Oh, now, no, you're leading the World Championships in Mini GP70, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, I'm currently leading the World Championships on the 70cc.
But at round one, Jake Clark was absolutely ballistic, wasn't he? Now, what's it going to take to reel Jake back in this time?
Yeah, I'm going to up my confidence in the wet.
So the conditions last time, it was damp and on some parts of the circuit, dry on others. And you did look on some parts of the circuit that you were lacking a little bit of confidence in those conditions. Wasn't completely wet, wasn't completely dry, but Jake obviously revelled in them. Today it looks like it should be dry. I think by the time we do race later in the day, should be dry by then. You're saying that's going to suit you?
Yeah, I'm a lot better in the dry conditions and when it's completely wet, not in the middle.
So the GP70 race about to get underway then. It's Adi Bihal and Brandon Payne on the front row with Alexander and Davis, Johnny Campbell and Jody Fieldhouse on row 3, Jake Clark, Elliot Pinson, Cameron Hall and Felix Hearn. We're under starters' orders and away we go. Oh, Fieldhouse has stalled it! Fieldhouse has stalled it from P6, so she's going to have to get things underway from the back of the field. But out in front it is Bihal. Alexander chased down by the Repsol Honda replica.
Oh, I don't like that. I do not like the blue smoke coming out the back of Jody Fieldhouse's exhaust there. Now, she had a problem with her engine at Landau. She was well off the pace. When they put it on the dyno, apparently it had 6 horsepower, supposed to have 16 horsepower. And looking at the blue smoke just puffing out the back of the exhaust going through the first chicane, that suggests to me she's got another problem. The only rider we never saw in the grid positions was Jordan McCord. He was going off P11. That's Tom Alexander's information, the 11-year-old from Barnstable. He crashed out, of course, at Landau. There he is, going through the picture in second place.
So Alexander chasing down your leader, Adi Bihal. Brandon Payne in third position on the 23, just in front of Jamie Davis, the 6th there. Brandon Payne from Dudley, the 15-year-old.
He was the NMRRC GP50 champion last season and running right to the front of the field here, on board with Jody Fieldhouse from Western Supermare. Got it going again. That's Felix Hearn in front on the orange machine. Very easy to spot. But back with the leaders, it's Bihal that comes down to the Riverside Loop in front, being chased here by Alexander. Tom fell off going through the right-hander, but those were different conditions last time, wet and dry. Dry conditions today. Jake Clark sweeps through there in 5th place. That's the man in 6th, Johnny Campbell, the man from Ireland, 155 machine, 11 years of age. He was the 2014 Irish champion in GP50 and Minimoto Junior Pro. Alexander looks like he's getting closer to the race leader.
Certainly does, and while we mention that, Payne is looking a little bit loose as well. Davis is trying to give him some pressure. On board again with Fieldhouse. Just making their way through the lower end of the circuit there, trying to make the move again on the inside of the 28.
It's Felix Hearn on the orange machine, very easy to spot. That's 76, Elliot Pinson. He's got orange bodywork this weekend as well, brand new bodywork on Elliot's machine.
So Fieldhouse looking to make the move on Hearn as the leaders once again come through the Riverside Loop. Fantastic shots from the Helicam again as they make their way up the straight once more. Fieldhouse again looking on the inside of Hearn at the horseshoe, just trying to get through as Jake Clark hassles the top 4 and Campbell is being dragged along with Bihal out in front. Alexander still threatening. Davis having another look at Brandon Payne for 3rd position. This is like a MotoGP battle in the Garden of England. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And down into the horseshoe once again come your leaders, trying to make their way through.
Jamie Davis, his first appearance in the championship. Welcome, Jamie. And doing pretty well as well.
Oh, Alexander, sorry, Alan. Alexander got a huge amount of understeer there. Oh, and that's Hearn. We just saw Hearn battling it out with Fieldhouse. Hearn's in trouble. I just saw Alexander just getting very loose on the way into the right hand of the horseshoe. Just about managing to save it before Brandon Payne got through. The battle very intense at the front.
This is the battle further down the field. Looks like Cameron Hall may have a problem on the 8 machine. Jordan McCord was going through the picture there. That was his information on screen. But this is a race for the lead. And what a race it is. Cracking race amongst the top 6. Now, Jake Clark cleared off at Landau in the conditions. You may remember Jake as Brandon Payne looks down the inside. Great move into the lakeside chicane.
But he overcooked it on the way through, so Alexander may get an opportunity into the horseshoe to get him back as Fieldhouse now chasing down Cameron Hall, trying to make the move into the chicane for the first time. And Payne has held on to second place for the moment, but he was very loose on the way into the chicane there at Lakeside. He was very close. Alexander now getting a little bit loose. Davis on the attack, trying to make the move into third position. Clark and Campbell very close in behind. Bihal still leads it. He's never been topped in this race so far, but the battle is raging behind in second place between Payne and Alexander. Fieldhouse, that was close.
She got her nose chopped off there by Cameron Hall. He missed a gear, I think, coming out the turn as well.
Yeah,
Back with the leaders, though.
So easy to make the mistake when you're in the midst of that battle, isn't it? Just to flip a gear and it ends up being the wrong one. It's so easy at this level, particularly when these guys are still relative newcomers to the sport, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things.
Now, this is later in the race. You can see that the leaders approaching the battling three riders in front of them. That's Fieldhouse in front of McCord and then Hall.
And then here come the leaders, Bihal, Payne, Davis having a look at Alexander for third position. Clark and Campbell still battling away in fifth and sixth. A great six-man scrap this, and it still could go anybody's way. They can't afford to make a single mistake.
Felix Hearn now is going to be a problem for the leader. Look at this, you've got all the leaders in amongst everybody else. It's virtually the whole field, apart from one rider I think is out on another part of the circuit on his own. You've got the whole field in amongst this group now. You've got the four back markers and the six leaders.
Bihal's got to be careful where he gets past McCord. He does it just before they reach the Riverside Loop, so that was nicely timed. He's got to be careful where he then makes the pounce on Fieldhouse and Hearn. Fieldhouse will be the first rider that he needs to get past into the last lap, and that is a problem for Felix Hearn. Oh, he almost got across. Bihal just timed it wrong, and the leaders scrapping behind, still battling away. Second position is now Payne, I believe. Alexander still hanging on from Davis in third. Campbell, fastest man.
Fastest man up to fifth place, just made his way past Jake Clark. You can see Adi Bihal there has made the best use of the back markers and put a lot of distance between himself and the man in second place now. That pretty much, by making good use of the back markers, has won him the race. Look at this, comfortable down to the Riverside Loop for the last time.
He's been absolutely invincible in this race. He worked the traffic when he needed to. He didn't go for the silly overtakes, the open gap. He worked it out perfectly. Checkered flag. Brilliant performance from Adi Bihal. Second place for Brandon Payne. Great job ahead of Alexander. Davis in fourth position ahead of Clark, who manages to get Campbell again on the last lap. But out in front, it's Adi Bihal who takes the win here at Lydd. Fantastic job.
You were never headed, but there was quite a battle going on behind. Were you aware of that?
I was aware that there were quite a few people behind me, but as I was in front for most of the race, I was concentrating on my own race and finishing.
Great win in the first race of the weekend for Adi Bihal. It was Jake Clark and Jamie Davis who picked up the wins later on in the weekend. So just like at Landau, 3 different races and 3 different winners. The championship table looks like this, with Clark out in front, Johnny Campbell, Brandon Payne and the pack chasing him down.
After winning that Mini GP70 race, Adi Bihal will put it on pole for the Mini GP50 race, but will get done off the start by Josh Watley, who are on board in this one with Ocean Jones. Jake picked up the commentary on lap 1.
Ocean Jones having a look round the outside of Hall. That's going to be a brave move if he can pull it off, but he is having an attempt. Wybrow in 5th position just behind, watching the action. Watley and Bihal out in front, looking very promising here. Bihal on the outside of the horseshoe, getting the undercut. He's got good acceleration, but Watley very much has the measure of him at the moment, trying to tuck in for the Riverside Loop.
Close race between these two at Landau, you remember. They come through the Riverside Loop one more time. Watley and Bihal lead it. Looks like the 8 bike of Cameron Hall has held on to third at the moment.
But here comes Jones. This is a very good move off the exit of the Riverside Loop. He's going to have him into the next corner. Nicely done. Ocean Jones gets it perfectly nailed there into the right-hander and sweeping round the double apex and onto the back straight towards the chicane. These two, Watley and Bihal, they've checked out in front. Blake Ansell chasing down Callum Beach with that's the 12 just behind of Coggins, and it looks as though Harvey Claridge just tucking into the back as well. But these two definitely stretching their legs out in front, and that's a very wide line from Bihal, but it looks as though he could catch Watley napping there.
Doesn't quite get him going into the Riverside Loop. Great pictures from the Helicam once more.
And the gap these two have pulled out on the rest of the field is absolutely massive at the moment. Ocean Jones still in 3rd position, pulling away from Hall, but Watley still managing to maintain this advantage in front of Adi Bihal as they make their way through the double right once again onto the straight So through paddock into the McLaren chicane, right, sweeping left, and then up through the right-hander. Easy to get it wrong, but very, very difficult to get it perfect. Into the lakeside chicane as well. This is where Bihal's really strong technically. He could get him on the exit here into the horseshoe. Very close indeed.
Still Watley out front. Fell off in the Minimoto Pro race earlier, of course. And Bihal looking for a way past, is he? He's swarming over all over the back of him. Can't quite find a way past. Again, fantastic shots.
And this is Watley able to defend valiantly. He can dictate where Bihal goes on the circuit by defending well. Later on into the race, great opportunity here for Ansel, trying to go around the outside of Callum Wybrow at the Riverside Loop. That is the move of the day, but you'll never believe it. Just one lap later, disaster. Josh Watley is out. Bitter frustration. It's like dropping a tenner and picking up 50p.
Well, after Watley's crash in the earlier Minimoto race, bad luck would beset him again in this one. That would pretty much be all she wrote, but Blake Hansel it was coming into the Riverside Loop this time, making a great move on Cameron Hall. He would come through for third place in the end. He was on fire. Meanwhile, Callum Beach on the 127, Harvey Claridge on the 16 and Luke Coggins on the 12 bikes would be having their own battle, but that wouldn't stop the race leader sweeping past all of them, setting the fastest lap in the process, 47.603. There is Blake Hansel. Cameron Hall would be fourth, but with Watley's retirement, it was all too easy for Andy Bihal by the checkered flag. He would take a comfortable win. Ocean Jones on the 77 bike would be comfortably clear in second place. That little battle down the field between Beach, Claridge and Coggins would be taking place ahead of the third place finisher, Blake Ansell. Cameron Hall would finish fourth, and Callum Wybrow, didn't see much of him in this one, would finish in fifth place. The televised race doesn't tell the story of the whole weekend though. Blake Ansell went on to take a win in race 2 and Josh Watley in race 3. Andy Bihal's DNF in race 2 and 5th place in race 3, meaning he only has a 6-point championship lead.